Oh yeah! Welcome to Two Finger Motoring. And let me slide to the side here so I can put up this little screen. So you're probably wondering what you're going to need to make these center caps. Well, obviously like a 4-pack of Monster or 4 individual cans or whatever. And that's what you're going to need. You're also going to need your wheels off. You're going to need any kind of like a punch, a screwdriver, anything to relieve the pressure out of the can, because you're going to go through the back side of the can, not the front, because you don't want to pop the tabs. You're going to need cutting tools, epoxy, some basic stuff like that to go ahead and complete this job. Now there's a whole bunch of different things you can actually do instead of what I'm doing and still accomplish the same thing. So difficulty, I give this a 1 out of 5 because, again, this is stupidly easy to do. It requires very basic tools. There's not much to it. Time, depending on how many wheels you can get off at once, anywhere from an hour to say 3, because you're waiting on wait times on the epoxy. So the first thing you're going to want to do is crack open your box. I opened it at the store so I could check to make sure the tops of the cans weren't bent. So it doesn't matter what you use, I'm just going to use a screwdriver, but we need to come into the back side to relieve pressure, because the last thing you want to do is pop the cap and then have, well, the cap popped. So take this, make the hole big enough, just try to make sure that you do not whatsoever bend this area of the can. Get it to come out faster, shake the can. To help speed up the bleed out process, I go ahead and usually come down to the bottom edge of the can, poke another hole. I just need to make sure that I do not damage this rim right here. Don't forget, wear some gloves, this stuff will cut you. So there's a couple ways of getting into this can. I've already got this started. You can use these big giant dikes. You have all your excess here. Just pour it out, save it, drink it. Don't drink it with this lip. Now, I've done these before on these wheels, so I know I need to trim right along this bend edge here. So I'm going to work my way down and around. In this case, I'm going to use these. These cutters work a lot better. I don't know what the heck they are, some kind of garden shear. And if you are scared you're not going to cut this straight enough, you can put a piece of tape around it to make sure it's nice and centered. But this doesn't have to be perfect. That's what the epoxy is for. If you're looking down in the wheel, you need to get it secure. I place it up because when I go to kind of pseudo center the new center cap, I want to be able to reach up underneath it. Plus it just makes it easier. I'm not laying on the ground. Now, these are hub centric rings. I was making sure, seeing how they fit in, seeing how I'm going to have to work into the lip, is I'm going to show you how to cut the lip so it'll fit right up against this inner lip right here. And you just put a couple dabs of epoxy. You can center it, it's going to be perfect. I'll show you. You can see it here, and you can see this nice little gap right up in there. You could technically do it this way and just daub some epoxy down in the backside, but I don't like doing it that way. I want the majority of the epoxy on the actual center cap, because it does make it easier when you get new wheels to pop them out. So I'm going to check the bottom. Yep. And what I'm doing is I'm checking the bottom to see where the wheel is visible at. Or where the center caps can be visible at, so I know how far I can make relief cuts, which it's pretty much right up to these letters. Go ahead and place it back in. And you can use any tool you want. I'm using the edge of this. I'll press down on the center of the cap. It doesn't have to be 100% centered. And just start slowly bending this over. There we go. See, now you can see just this thing has hardly any play at all, which is going to make it a lot easier to line up. See, I mean, look at that. And once you get it down in there, this thing does not move. Go ahead and check from the back side that it is centered. If it is not, and you don't have enough play, trim more of this edge back. I like to use this epoxy. You can see it's the Gorilla Clear epoxy. Sets in 5 minutes. I just like it because you don't have the stupid tube ends that end up messing stuff up. Now you don't need a whole lot of it. This little bit left in the tube should last all 4 wheels. Find something to mix it with. I'm just using a crappy, cheapy clicker blade knife. Mix it up real good. We're going to put some dabs on here. You can see that I'm just putting it right along the edge. Again, don't worry about it becoming off-centered while you're doing it. Just put a few dabs on here. Let this sit for roughly 4 minutes. The epoxy dries in 5. You want it to sit about 4 because it's still, the outside's going to be nice and dry and it'll hold it pseudo in place. But if you give it a little bit of force, you're going to be able to move this around and make sure it is 100% centered. So I'll see you in 4 minutes. Okay, it's still pseudo movable at the end of that 4 minutes. I'm going to go up underneath it and make sure it's centered. It's almost completely set up. So what I'm going to do is just push down on it, wiggle it, and it should self-center. Now the reason I'm pushing down on it is because the center cap's likely to lift up a little bit as the epoxy seeps around the sides of it. So what you're going to do is go ahead and let it sit about 5 extra minutes. Now the reason I say that is because you're going to be handling the wheel. You don't want to handle the wheel, bump the center cap, and shift it over at all. Plus I'm going to be banging on it to get the hub centric ring in. So let it sit. Before putting the wheel on, go ahead and clean up all this hub area. Helps the wheel sit more flat. Now with painted wheels, be very, very careful when you're putting these up on. And I don't even remember what lug holes. Get them nice and hand tight. All you have left is repeating this process 3 other times for the other 3 wheels. If you have a spare wheel, I guess you could do it for that one too. But most people just 3 more times. And it's done. Take a look at it. Oh yeah. Looks sexy. And with the hub centric rings, the vibration should be gone.
Well, folks, it's time to kick it old school. So you can feel cool. Give it to me, baby. Baby. Yeah.